What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Spectra by Gateway Interactive. This is kind of a hardcore, twitchy survival racing thing. If you're a fan of the chiptune artist Chipzel, you may recognize the name and the logo, because they are identical to the name and logo of Chipzel's last album. And, well, if you're a fan of music, you'll probably recognize the music in the background. Yeah, it's all pretty integral to the whole thing. So, there are 10 tracks in this game, and there are 10 tracks on the album, and the music is used in each of the tracks. So, whether the game was designed from the ground up around her music or what, I don't know. I can only imagine that's quite likely to be the case, to be honest. There's no options maybe to speak of here, to be honest. It's a Unity game, so you got the Unity pre-launcher, you got your resolution options on there, which are a little bit limited. I didn't seem to see too many options on there. And there are 3 graphical presets you can choose from. No audio options to speak of. For a game that's ostensibly about music, you might like to see some audio options, but they don't exist. And I will say I'm using a controller. I tried with a keyboard. I think they both work well, but they work differently, so I think that's a personal preference thing. In terms of the controller, I would like to see some dead zone calibration. I've not particularly had any issues with kind of drift like I've had in other games, but, you know, just the option to have that calibration in there would be much appreciated. So let's head on in and have a look at the levels. We have, as I say, we have 10 tracks. They are all the levels are named the same as the tracks that you will find on her album. So if you're familiar with the album, you will recognize some of these. So let's jump in at the basic end, start with the first level. Keep it simple. It's a long track that winds and weaves its way around. There are obstacles to avoid, those are those purple things, and there are gold things to collect. Occasionally there are some boosters, and they will boost you and give you a bit of a score multiplier. And, well, actually that's about it. That's pretty much everything. You kind of get a bit of a score multiplier by hitting the boosters and then collecting long chains of the gold dots. And at the end there's a kind of a scoreboard, but the whole thing, I don't know, the whole thing with the scoreboard seems to be kind of rendered a little bit moot by the fact that the levels are procedural, so I don't get why we're scoring levels that are different every time. As a concept, you know, either go with a high score and give everybody the same thing, or make it procedural, but don't score everyone, because why would you score levels that are getting a different thing each time? That's just... If I quit to the main menu and start this level again, I'll just get a totally different level. So how would it be fair to compare my high scores? That doesn't make any sense to me. So if you wish to compete for scores, you may do so, but I feel like just the very nature and design of the game kind of undermines any potential achievement there. I've had some really huge long chains with loads of boosters and long chains of gold, but then, you know, if I quit the level and come back again, that option isn't there again, so the option to get big scores out of that bit of the level isn't going to be there, and anybody I might compete with isn't going to have that, which is weird. I don't get that logic. Additionally, even though there are high scoreboards, it only ever tells you at the end of a level. If you get a high score, it says, hey, you're ranked whatever in the world, and then it only does it if you rank fairly highly. I've on a few occasions had it pop up and say, hey, you got the 20th highest score in the world. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, but knowing what I know about the procedural levels, like, did I just get lucky, and did the procedural generation give me an easy level that scored quite highly, or am I actually good at the game? Hard to say. And then you can never actually look up those scores. As I say, it shows you once at the end of the level if you score well, and never again. You can't access it from the main menu. There are no high scoreboards to be viewed publicly. So I don't know. The scoring system in this game almost feels like it doesn't need to exist. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, honestly, there's not a lot more to the game than this. It's a survival thing. You'll know if you like these kind of games. It's survive and enjoy the music. This is a relatively easy level. It does get a lot harder, and then if you beat the 10 levels, there is a harder mode. If you hit one of the objects, you will obviously lose, as you saw there, you'll lose any chain you've currently got going. If you don't have any chain going, you won't lose much out of that. And to be honest, it's not all that unforgiving. It is relatively forgiving, to be honest. If you hit objects, you can actually hit a bunch of objects in a row, and you can still recover pretty easily. You can go off the edge of a level and drive back on. You can get a bit of air time there. Air 140 points. Yep. Because you can. I've used that to great effect on a few occasions. Not there, but you can kind of just go off the edge just a bit. I'm getting a bit anxious about doing that, but if you go off the edge, you can, yeah, just dodge obstacles like that. So it's fairly forgiving. If you go off, you can get back on. If you hit obstacles, it's not a guaranteed loss. The worst thing that's going to happen is if you bounce off near one of these gold bits at the side, the barrier will stop you from getting back on. That's pretty much how you're going to die if you're going to die. So, certainly on easy mode, or normal mode, whatever you want to call it, it's a relatively, it still has all the, it still feels like a hardcore game that many of its peers in the field might attest to being, but it's, as you see, relatively forgiving. We can go do, it'll just take you straight to the next level if you just press A, so I want to, and there's no way to quit out actually, to be honest, so I'm just going to have to crash really. Actually, no, I don't, I tell a lie, there is a way to quit out. You can't just restart a level. If you gaff up and sort of miss a whole bunch of points and you're like, damn it, I can do better than that, I wish to restart. There's no quick restart, I would like that. So let's try a different track. Let's do something further down the list. Let's go with, yeah, let's take Sonnet, why not? So some of the later levels I haven't completed completion. The early levels I've played through a bunch of times till I finished them. And the later levels, you don't have to finish them to progress as well, so that ties into the whole. It's maybe not as hardcore as it might kind of appear at first blush. So yeah, you only need to complete about 20% of the song, I think. 20, maybe 25% of the song. And I'll give you a 1-star rating. I'll say, congratulations, you've unlocked the next level. So then you can move on. You do have to do at least something to get the next level, but not much. As you can see, I'm sort of bouncing off obstacles all over here, and it's not really hurting me in any way. The only objective is to make it to the end of the track, really, at the end of the day. The scoring system, again, is kind of weird insofar as it almost rewards playing conservatively. It's like, if you were to do a perfect run, you would get an amazing score. If you were to do a pretty decent run and play conservatively and just, you know, not grab some dots so that you stop scoring points and you say, I've got 600 there, so let's bank that 600 before I start scoring any more points. If I'd hit one of those blocks there, I would have just lost the 600. I could have kept going for a little bit more, but otherwise I might have lost it. So it kind of rewards that sort of not running to try and grab every dot just to try and boost your score a little bit. Whereas then someone who did like really well but not perfect and hit some obstacles along the way would be, they'd end up losing quite a lot of points as a part of that, and as a consequence you'd kind of actually score less than the person who just did pretty well, I think. It just feels, the whole scoring system in this game just feels really weird. It doesn't make any sense in any way, shape or form. Okay, so that's me being kind of down. There's a lot of issues with this in terms of just the game as a concept. But the music is what it's about, right? It's a game designed around the game's around the album Spectra. If you're a fan of Chipzel, or indeed chiptune in general, even if you weren't familiar with Chipzel to begin with, I think the music carries the game pretty well. It is a great album. I personally do quite like Chipzel's music. If you weren't aware, Chipzel is, of course, the artist behind, what's it called, Super Hexagon. So I imagine a lot of people will be familiar with her work, even if they don't know her by name. So if you like the music in the Super Hexagon, it is the same artist, it's the same style of things. So if you like that, the game is carried quite heavily by the music in and of itself. It's not a complex game, but it's a pretty fun game that is carried quite well by the music, I think. If you like this kind of survival, sort of hardcore thing, it's fun. If you're looking for something like truly, brutally hardcore, maybe it's probably not the right choice. Tell you what, I'm just going to drive off the edge here, so that we can... I wasn't too far off the edge of the end of the level anyway, I could have probably finished that, never mind. I want to show you the hardcore level, just so it's like so I can show you what the actual challenges are in this. Once you've unlocked hardcore mode, all the tracks unlock at once, so let's take Evolution, why not? I've not done this track, let's find out how bad this is. So this is going to be hardcore mode, and yeah, there's just a lot more stuff is what hardcore mode. This is, if you're looking for something that's actually genuinely going to be frustratingly challenging, this might be where you're looking actually. The normal mode, maybe not so much. I think most people are going to be pretty comfortable finishing normal mode. If you're looking for something that's genuinely hardcore, this is kind of where you're looking. And even then, it's not awful. As I say, a lot of the screw-ups are still recoverable from. It's still the same game at the end of the day. They don't do anything different other than add more obstacles, so, you know, you can still recover from a lot, but there's just a lot more to dodge, so there's a lot more opportunity for failure, really, when it comes down to it. So yeah, there you go. There's really not much more to show you than this. This is hard mode. I have failed hard mode. There you go. Shiny, new track high score, new track completion. There you go, that is Spectra. It is a game about an entire music album, really. The game is just... It could be a visualization. It's like an interactive visualization for a very specific musical album. I think that's maybe the best way of describing it. Potentially. There you go, that is Spectra. That is available for Windows and Mac. It is out now on Steam, available for £5.99 or your regional equivalent, and there is a 20% first week discount. So thank you very much for watching. I've been Meroka. This has been Spectra. I'll see you next time. Yeah!